was thinking.
Dude, whatever.
And this is just straight up live with no intro or anything.
No, we're live now. We're
People can
live.
just deal with it, people.
Yeah. So welcome to the channel. Your first time here.
Ooh.
We've kind of been feeling that the live streams are a bit stale, and so we thought maybe we'd freshen it up with a guest. And you were the first to come to my mind because I've secretly watched you for a while, and I lurk in your live streams. And
oh, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
It's the way we like to be.
And
Right.
big fan of the songs.
Oh my god!
I introduced Chelsea to the songs before the stream.
Dying. It's so funny.
Which ones? Because I used to do like original raps, and then I discovered AI music, and I'm like, I can have a lot of fun with this. So that's like all my shorts have been that.
So we did the Guppy.
Oh my god!
And then I showed her the one
funny.
for Fishtoberfest.
It's so good.
Oh yeah.
I'm impressed, honestly.
So I guess my first question is like, what is your musical background? Because that takes a lot of work and skill,
Yeah, it
and
does.
I certainly could never do it.
No.
I mean, when I went into middle school, it was kind of like I didn't even have a choice of an instrument I was going to pick to play. Like I was going to be in band. I had a choice of instrument, but I had 4 brothers. All 4 of them were in band, so it's just like an assumption that so am I. And I picked trombone with really not really keeping in mind anything practical about the instrument at all. But
You're kidding.
I mean, I took to it pretty well, and I took to music pretty well, and then I started getting into music editing, like music mixing and software, and yeah. So music is just like one of the things I use as an outlet.
As well as Planet Tanks.
They go hand in hand, those things, obviously.
Well, I
naturally.
made it happen that way. Like
I like it.
I was fortunate enough to see you live at Fishtoberfest,
I'm a
and
little
unfortunately
bummed I
I
didn't
didn't
see
get an autograph. I feel a little let down.
That was
I didn't even think about it. It's my first time
Messed
I
up.
ever had a booth at one of those events, so I was a little taken aback by that, and that was an experience. But so yeah, we have met in person, and that was pretty awesome. So
twice,
what about
actually?
you? Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because you were in Dallas.
Yep.
Wearing a hoodie in July or whatever it was.
No way.
Everyone gives me crap
No
about
way.
that, but everywhere you go has AC. Like I don't get it.
Yeah.
No. That was dangerously hot. That was bad. Dallas Aquashella ran out of water in an aquatic
What?
event. There was no drinking water.
What?
Like, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Start drinking the
Dude,
tanks, people. It's fresh water.
Huh,
Fine.
I didn't hear that.
Fluoridated.
I didn't spend much time at Aquashella because once you walk through it once,
It is what it is.
you kind of see
Yeah.
everything.
Much.
So as far as YouTube, I noticed that you've been on here a couple years now. What made you get into YouTube?
It was started as a way to document some of my tanks, just to like observe the changes over time, and actually we're making videos for the Aquarium Co-op forum just to be like, hey, I have this going on. I have a Habrosis Cory that's like whirling around the tank. What's going on with that? And then I just decided to make like a tank tour. Like, this is an overview of my tank. I opened up some video editing software and then started learning stuff. And then I just kind of got really silly with it. It was fun. So I just made more. That was pretty much it. Like, I have no goals. I have no YouTube goals. It's very evident by my YouTube channel and the fact that I don't do anything consistently, and I'm confusing the algorithm. So
I mean, honestly,
super
that's the
fun.
best way. It's once you become a slave to the algorithm, it takes a lot of fun out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've heard. So
Mm-hmm.
So I am a little jealous of that, and I hope to get back to that someday.
well, as a consequence of that, I have to have a day job, like I'm a corporate cog. So
well, there's give and takes to both.
Yes.
It's nice to have that, especially like me when your account gets banned for over a month, and it would be nice to have that to fall back onto.
Yeah, for no reason at all.
For literally no reason.
Couldn't make any sense of it.
How long have you been keeping a? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nancy was saying that I'm kind of quiet, like maybe my volume is not equalized with y'all. So just a.
I don't know how to do that.
I know that's a little. Yeah, 104.
Can edit
California.
Oh yeah, you turned me down a lot. I can see it on my end.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
All right. What happens if I click automatic adjust mic volume? Do I get like way loud on y'all's end?
Yeah, but as long as there's no feedback,
Yeah.
we can deal with it being
It's
loud.
fine.
Okay, I don't hear feedback, so seems like it's all right.
I'm sure Zenny will let us know, and I'm sure Zenny's linked your channel. So if this is somehow your guys' first time seeing Stephen P, go check out his channel and subscribe if you like what you see. How long have you been keeping fish?
Since like summer of 2019. So it's
Oh,
almost
really?
like I
That's
got into it at the start
Wow.
of COVID, but it was actually I had no idea COVID was going to happen. It just kind of
You
meshed up
squeaked
that
right
way.
in.
Yeah, then I got
Nice.
really into it
Yeah.
during COVID.
Well, yeah, a lot of people did, and now I feel like we're kind of on a big
Yeah.
downtrend from people going back to work, but that's all right.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
in-office thing has taken a lot of people out of the hobby a little bit because they can't be at home all the time to deal with all the tanks they've acquired. over
Oh
the
yeah,
years.
the return to the office sham.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that
Definitely
one.
a
That
sham.
one, exactly.
We
Mhm.
talk about that all the
Yeah,
time.
it's I worked from home for 3.5 years, and I've never been more productive in my life than when I worked from home. So
Yeah,
it's
I've been working from home, doing the same kind of job, 3 different companies though, for about at least a decade now.
yeah, it's
Well,
much
you've
better.
clearly like jumped into this thing pretty headstrong, seeing the tank behind you, and you've always had beautiful planet tanks since I've found you on YouTube. What made
Thank
you
you.
get into planet tanks specifically?
Just realizing that I could. Like I had fish tanks when I was a teenager, but it was rainbow gravel, fake ornaments, like the typical story that everybody that tells about their first tank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I thought like growing aquatic plants is like a thing you could do, but it apparently like took a lot of skill and effort. Well, that's not the case at all. It's just
Lies.
once you learn kind of how plants go with your water and understand the nuances of water chemistry, you can pretty much do whatever you want. So I just got into that. And that's like I approach any hobby with just obsession. So that helps. Like if I'm really into it, that just becomes my life for a little while.
That's me too. I get that.
Do you tend
Yeah.
to like stay with it, or do you kind of like have ebbs and flows? Like I'll be into planet tanks for like a couple years, and I'm like I'm doing African cichlids, and I'll do that for a little bit. Now, I don't know that you've been doing it long enough to do that, but have you always just done planet tanks?
Yeah, I mean, it's only been close to 5 years, so I haven't had a chance to do anything else. Like I mean, I've done a lot of different things, but the constant has always been that there's going to be live plants. Even if I have a bare bottom tank, I'm throwing something in there, even if it's like anacarus and guppy grass. Like it's got to be plants.
Good old inaccurate.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
understand like how you could not have live plants.
Yeah, I
They're
don't
just,
either.
and I might not have the best looking live plants, but I have live plants regardless.
Yeah.
So,
And there's so many. I just want to try all the things. So it'll be a while before I think I move to something else, if I even do.
yeah, I mean, like the whole like planet community aquarium, there's so much you could do, so many different variations, so much to try.
My problem was always my cichlids because I had larger, not big, but larger cichlids. And so I love my plants and they loved them too. So that's the problem.
Yeah, that's kind of why I haven't done the monster fish and cichlids like that. Like the only cichlids that I have experience with are angelfish. We have 2 of those, and apistos, which I got crappy apistos from a bad source, so they lasted about 6 months.
That sucks. That happens. It's unfortunate.
I bet I could guess where they came from.
I mean, they came from LFS, so whatever the big farm that they all come from, that's probably where they came from.
Yeah,
a bad batch. That's unfortunate. It does happen
Yeah.
with the pistos, though. That I feel like regularly there are some that just don't live up to it.
That was
But
another thing that took me a while to learn, was the fact that like I always thought anytime a fish just died on me like that it was my fault, but not necessarily. Sometimes they're just bad fish. It's hard to know the difference.
It is.
Yeah, I used to rack my brain on random fish deaths, but now I can't even think about it because you're never gonna know. Like so.
Yeah, exactly.
I went into it buying fish from I had a few local fish stores, and I knew at certain stores like it was going to be fine, and then others, they're the ones that the day they receive them, they're putting them out to sell them regardless. And so I knew there's a 50% chance this is not going to go well. So
yeah, last I checked, my LFS has like a 1-day quarantine period.
yeah, that
but
sounds right.
you can bypass that by agreeing to buy the whole bag before they put them in the tank.
Now, do you get it cheaper?
Maybe by a few dollars, depending on what it is. But also, you're going to lose half of them, so it's not really cheaper.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's why one of the things that always kind of struck me weird is like people not buying test kits, not buying meds. And it's like, well, it's too expensive, but I'm like, you're paying hundreds replacing fish that are dying for no reason.
Those are legitimately the people.
What's more
replacing their
expensive
fish
in the
all
long
the
run?
time. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't even understand.
Yeah.
But anyways, what kind of water do you have there?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's actually kind of weird water, which is what got me deep diving into water chemistry, because I hear from folks like the Pacific Northwest with that ultra soft water that, you know, plants are just easy. You can put anything in a tank and it's fine. Just give it some nutrition and, you know, it's effortless, but not necessarily. Well, for one thing, my water is from it's groundwater from an aquifer, the Southern Hills Aquifer, and it starts off as ultra soft because it's like rainwater, basically, as the source of it in the local lakes and stuff. But as it travels underground, it does interact with calcite and feldspar, which adds hardness, like both GH and KH to it. But then our soil is very high in clay, and also as it dissolves the feldspar, it makes more clay. So there's a cation exchange where all the calcium and magnesium, it just gets sucked out, and all I'm left with is KH. So like if you took a TDS meter and put it in my water, it's like 110 ppm, but I wouldn't call my water like hard or even medium hard. It has zero GH and like 6 degrees of KH, and it comes out of the tap at like 8.2.
That is almost identical to what we have going on here.
That's why I think it's weird.
Really?
It's very similar to, and people are shocked when they hear like the deficit, because they're expecting, you know, if you have like a lower pH, because our pH isn't too high, but we have very hard water.
It's it's like you have
with no mineral
soft alkaline water is basically what it is.
And our water is actually very similar. So we're on well, so we don't have the soft Seattle water. We're too far out in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
So we have a well, but we also, if you dig down a foot, it's all clay. So it's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
We have this almost
just
the same
pouring
water
right into it.
So what is your KH then?
You know, I told you I was going to test it before we started this stream last week.
Leave right now, Steven. He didn't test it. It's over. Thanks,
we can try this again another time. I mean,
have a nice night.
Bye.
We're done.
I'm trying to remember when, because I tested it when I first got here 2 years ago. Gosh, I like, my brain wants to say it's very similar to yours, but I feel like that's a cop out and an easy answer. But I don't remember. I should have
be
measured
testing
it, but
after this. So
it's been a little crazy around here.
Yeah.
Do you know what your pH is by chance?
7.2 ish.
Yeah.
Last time I tested, which was a few months back, it was like 7.2.
I think the highest I've ever seen it is mid 7s, like 7.5.
Interesting.
It's not crazy.
So if so it could be lower KH, or if it's higher KH or similar to mine, then that just indicates there could be like a higher amount of dissolved CO2, which I've read is common in wells. I don't never use well water. My parents are on a well and their TDS is like 4. Like they've got nothing in their water. They live 35 minutes from me and their water is completely different from mine.
Wild.
Like water, you can cross into another zip code or even another county, or just like go a few miles down the road, and the water could be very different, could fundamentally change the way you approach fish keeping.
Yeah, and it did. So when I moved 2 years ago, I'm like 15 minutes away from where I previously lived. And so I just assumed, like, so when I was setting up my tanks, I went and bought like a aragonite sand. And I'm like, because I thought I had the same soft water as I've had for 20 years. And I just, after like a couple months, I'm like, what is going on here? And that's when I finally tested
Literally
it.
Nothing. Yeah.
And that's when I finally tested it. And I was like, oh, what is going on here? So then I asked who I rent from. And they're like, well, it's city water, but we also have like a well backup. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's like a combo. It's weird.
I said that in a stream, and somebody that works for the water department was like, that's impossible. Like, you don't have both. You got to have one or the other.
Nope.
And so then I researched a little more, and it actually all comes from a well. And I'm like, well, now things are starting to make sense.
Yeah, it's really interesting the way they bring water in.
Now, at your last place, didn't your water source change depending on the time of year?
It still does too.
So at my last place, it came from 3 different sources, but the 2 of them were like backups, but we never ran out of water here. I mean, it's the Northwest, so
Yeah.
Even
So
in
lack of water.
droughts, like so-called droughts, it never switched. So that was a good thing, because the first backup was coming from a city called Everett, which is pretty good for around, pretty big size for around here. And they have fluoride and chlorine and chloramine, whereas none of that was in my water. And so I was like, is this the time that it's going to use the backup and kill all my fish? Because I never even had to use primer safe. Like, it was crazy how good my water
that would
was.
make me so paranoid. Like, I think I would put a little squirt of prime in there anyway, just because
Oh,
it's
I
not.
would.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm very paranoid. I had one bad episode with Sacramento. The water district put some weird crap in the water and killed a whole tank of rainbow fish. And I was like, well, I will test every time. Make sure every time. Dump prime.
I hear that story a lot. That sucks. Like, I complain about my water being weird because I literally have to spend like $10 a month just on calcium and magnesium, just putting powder in tanks.
Mineralizing.
Where are you getting your powder from? Because I need to start doing that myself. And I used to get it from, I think, Greenleaf Aquariums or something like that is where I used to buy my dry ferts.
That sounds expensive.
It was.
GLA, everything is just like cha-ching. But at first I was buying it from my LFS. There was a liquid made by Aquavitro, which I think is like the Sea Chem posh brand.
Yeah.
And it had like the perfect ratio of magnesium and calcium. And as I went on, I learned that that's not really that important. And also the liquid stuff was way more expensive. So now I get it from Nylock G. It's their GH Boost powder. It's like, I don't know, $7 for a pound of it. I order about 10 pounds at a time every 6 months. So it kind of works out about $10 a month. But if you want to be super cheap, you could use gypsum, which is just calcium sulfate. And you could use Epsom salts for the magnesium. You just, I don't feel like measuring that stuff out every time and getting the ratios. Yeah.
For $10 a month, I feel like let someone else do it for you. That's not bad.
Yep, exactly.
And I've talked to Nylock G since, like, I think our first communication was like 2013. So I got no problem supporting that guy. I guess I never assumed, like, I don't know, my brain never thought like dry ferts and Nylock G, because he has his liquid fertilizer. That's all I ever see. So yeah, I'll have to check that out.
I did try dry ferts for a while. But I'm still very inconsistent about dosing, but the dry ferts made me extremely inconsistent. And also I made some mistakes too, because I kind of willy-nilly dose, even like with Easy Green, but I bought the micros. Micros are very easy to overdose. And if you do it, you will burn all your plants. It's like, it's very toxic stuff. So yeah, I do Easy Green in my CO2 tanks, and I do Nylock G Thrive, the shrimp specific one, only because it has a low nitrate content. I do that in my my non CO2 injected tanks.
Is that the only difference? I thought it had like
it has pretty
as well.
It does. It has low amounts of everything, but the iron content that it does have is a DTPA chelation. So my pH is like 7.8 to 8.0 in my non CO2 injected tanks. Wow. If I use EDTA iron, which I think that might be the only kind that's in Easy Green. If I use that, then like all of it is precipitated and there's no bioavailability of iron. Even still, like with DTPA, there's only like 50% of it that's bioavailable, but it hasn't been a problem.
So the tank behind you, is that CO2 or
CO2? Oh yeah, straight CO2.
Do you have a lot of tanks with CO2, or how many do you have that you run CO2 in?
8 that are CO2 injected. I am weaning one of them off of CO2. The one with the 3 spotted Congo puffers, because that is an all crypt tank, and also I have $600 of 3 fish in there, and I don't.
I understand that. That is definitely. I think twice about our tank with spotted Congo puffers. It's hard to want to put stuff in there that you're not sure of or whatever. It's not a good idea.
So what's your favorite regulator, if you have one?
SR Aquaristics, but that's the most expensive one that I bought. I hear that like GLA is really good, and that one's like another $100. And then you can get them custom built. There's some people that make really high-end custom built regulators. I haven't gotten into that yet.
Yeah, that seems
My
a bit
knowledge
extreme.
of regulators is just like anecdotal. Like these kill fish and these kill fewer fish. So I think I'm going to go with that one.
Are those bitterlings in your tank? I can't tell what's behind you. Like, what are those?
Look
No,
like
which
rosy
ones?
barbs.
Are they barbs? I was gonna, okay, I can't like
The black
the
ruby
orange.
barbs.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that what those? God, those are pretty. Those are. I
Mhm.
mean, I didn't even recognize. Yeah, those are lovely.
They get really dark. They're like in breeding dress all the time.
Okay, I was like, they
I
look
think
so
they're
dark.
inspired by the rainbows that are also constantly spawning.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about rainbows.
There's a lot of spawning that happens in this tank and a lot of egg eating, I'm sure, because
X-rated tank.
there's no baby fish that arise in this tank, despite the daily spawning that happens.
It's fun to watch, though.
So let's do a little scenario. Let's say someone new to the hobby approaches you and says, not necessarily new to the hobby, but new to planted tanks. What plants are you going to recommend to that person?
Well, I'm going to ask them what their water is like first, because like if they have
continue your scenario, like
yes,
build upon this, please.
Give me all the parameters.
Let's say we live in Indianapolis, so we've got like 7.5 pH, hard water. That's about all I know from their water, so that's all I can give
and
you.
Go.
What does hard water mean?
Yeah,
like,
oh boy,
this is your scenario.
So I'm trying to remember because I picked Indianapolis because I was at Lucas Brett's place before he moved, and he was always talking about his water. So let's say, I don't know, let's just say 5 and 5, 5 GH, 5 KH, and like 7.5 pH.
Yeah, that's good in my opinion. That's
that's basically like right where you want it.
Yeah, I mean that's like 98% of all plants that are in the hobby regularly are gonna do well.
Buy all of them.
I mean, my problem is that I find the ones that work better, I get bored and I'm like, I want to try stuff that is impossible and frustrate myself. And that's kind of the path I go on. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm just like tired of those kind of plants. But yeah, like I would ask them what kind of light they're running and are they willing to do a lot of stem trimming, because like stem plants have their own challenges versus like you stick a crypt somewhere and watch it do its thing. You don't need a lot of assistance with that.
Slowly watch it do its thing.
Yeah, I mean some crypts can go really fast, like Cryptspiralis. That's like a super invasive plant where you plant it in one spot and it decides I'm gonna go see what the other side of the tank is like, and it'll send a runner across the tank and it'll just keep going. It's kind of like Val.
Yeah,
I do like that one.
I do love Cryptspiralis, and that's probably why.
I had more trouble
and it's easy
with crypts than anything because of the cichlids, because they wanted to dig in the sand. I had geophagus, and so the crypts were the first ones to get pulled out, whereas like my Kumbamba, there was so much of it was like a forest. They didn't even care about it, didn't look at it, but the crypts always got it. It was so annoying.
Yeah, crypts don't like to be disturbed either, so
no, that was
extra challenge.
That's why I had so much trouble with it, because they never left it alone. So
have you ever come across a plant where you're like, I'm never doing this again, this plant is awful? For me, it's Subswastertang. I don't care what anyone says. I hate that thing because it's impossible to get rid of. One little fraction of it. Like if I ever wanted to get rid of it, I have to take down the whole tank.
Looks like a cartoon.
Bob is correct, and I also agree with Chelsea. I like it because look at the so there's like a custom background behind me on the rock wall.
I
can see all the tufts of Subswastertang. All of that appeared after I quote unquote got rid of all the Subswastertang in this tank, because I used to have a little bonsai tree on this side, and then it had a bunch of Subswastertang on it. I took all that out, but it's like Subswastertang is like a fern. It sends out fronds across the tank, and you know there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
Yep, and it just kind of sits at the base of a plant. Doesn't need a lot of light. Really like CO2. So yeah,
I always loved when people would shove Subswastertang in like a bag that I got sent. I'm like, yes, give me all of it, because for a while it was really like a few years back. It was hard to find. I couldn't find it anywhere. It's good stuff.
Do you mess around with like bulbitis or any of those kind of ferns?
Yeah, there's bulbitis in this tank too, and it's one of those.
I'm trying to find
like
it. Like I see the
Yeah, well, I probably removed a lot of it, and I don't know. Let me move to the right. There it is.
Ah, okay.
There we go.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
It gets going and then it's everywhere. Like, I love
Yeah.
blue light.
And I notice in my water, if I don't have CO2 injection, it doesn't die, doesn't really grow that much, just kind of sits there. So it's a good ornamental plant that will stay alive if you don't care about like trimming plants a lot, you know. You just
Yeah,
want something that's there.
Ricky is another one. Like you're never getting rid of that one. I hate that.
No, I despise that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm not a
probably
big fan
hate
of
that and Substrate Tang more than guppy grass because at least I know I can get rid of guppy grass.
Yeah, guppy grass isn't bad. I don't mind guppy grass.
You can get rid of guppy grass because I can't. I have to be very careful about what I put it in.
It takes some patience in a couple days, but eventually, yeah, it does. Just got to keep removing it every day until eventually it's gone, or you can just get a shop vac and vacuum it out. But there's always one that sticks around.
Yeah, and I have it in place. Like I accidentally put it in a CO2 tank, and I have to accept defeat. It's never going away.
You're screwed then.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you feel about boosts? Because I know a lot of people have varying feelings about boosts. It drives me crazy because I can't stand how long it takes to grow, no matter what. Like I just can't stand it, and it's so friggin' expensive.
I love the way it looks. I have hordes and hordes of it, and yeah, it's like a love-hate relationship with it because it's very fussy. It seems like it requires extremely low KH and also to be left alone and like very, very clean water. You cannot let any debris, any kind of organics that just sit on it and dissolve on top of the leaves because it's an algae magnet. Mine, I'm constantly battling hair algae in mine, but I like it so much that I'm willing to put up with that for now.
Yep. See, that's the thing is I love it. And like same reason why I had issues with plants. My cichlids made such a mess that they never lasted long. It was always gone within like a month because they just made a mess. And I was like, forget it. It's their tank, whatever. But
I think the boost market is ridiculous. Like
that's what I'm more like. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. That's why I asked, because I thought people just lose their minds for boosts. So, and I've paid a lot of money for it, and just all of it's gone.
Not to mention all the different names that it has. And
yeah.
My biggest problem with boost, and this is here comes the tree hugger side of me, is all of it just gets raped from the wild. Like, and I just got demonetized for saying that.
I would good job.
No one is like, farms aren't really growing it. It's literally all just
stolen. There's a nice
one of the 2 R words you can't use on YouTube.
My God, like we got 2 words.
I might as well just say retarded too. Like, let's just get that out of the way.
Well, I'm gonna just get going myself.
That's me, guys. That's not Stephen P. So I'm just hitting
everybody
all the
come for him.
Yeah,
he's right here.
Come at me, not Stephen for that.
Not me either. I'm perfect. I say nothing wrong. So.
There are good sources for it. Like I think bipetshrimp.com. I think all of his is like grown submersed in his tank. I haven't purchased from them in a while, but yeah, I get that they just take it from the wild.
At one point, I don't remember. Maybe it was Alibaba, but like I inquired from like one person. He's like, we can go out and we can just get you like as much as you want. We can just go get it all. And I was like, whoa, calm down, buddy. Like, yeah, that's okay.
It's a little much.
Ooh. It's like, you want a human hand too? I can harvest body parts. You need a liver.
Like,
whatever
can
you
I
need.
get one? Can I get 2? Body farm.
Alibaba. That's a pretty interesting place. The original Temu, I guess.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, that's what I think of when I hear that is Temu. It's same.
Oh, yeah. There's Alibaba and there's AliExpress. I think Alibaba is like you buy stuff in bulk and just like pray you don't get scammed, but you're gonna get scammed.
Yeah,
that's where you can buy like the electric trucks for like $1,000.
Oh my God.
I've seen those. They're interesting.
Yeah, that's wild, dude.
Are you using root tabs at all? Is that
part of your repertoire?
I'm just as inconsistent with root tabs as I am with fertilization.
I am the worst.
We are really not good about that. I feel like it's like, hey, it's once every 3 months you throw some root tabs in there and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think they're more important, in my opinion, to get tanks started
Yeah.
Because the way I do my tanks is everything is heavily stocked. And so even if I'm just using inert substrate like gravel or sand, fish poop gets all up in there, and is not a comprehensive nutrient, but it definitely helps. It's a good stopgap for my terrible fertilizing routine.
Yeah, that helps for sure.
So are you not using like aqua soil or eco complete, or what's your thoughts on that stuff?
Oh yeah, I do tanks like many different ways. Like a lot of people like to stick to their one way and think it's the best way, but like I'm gonna try all the things. So I have deep sand beds that are just sand. I have really shallow gravel. I have aqua soil by itself. I have aqua soil capped with sand. I have behind me, this is Seachem fluorite. I got this when I thought that planted substrate, or I thought that fluorite was considered a planted substrate. It's marketed it that way, but it's really not. Like, it has some extra iron in it, but there's no nutrients. Like, there's no bioavailable nutrients in fluorite. But
that's kind
you
of
can
the
see it's
with
doing
most
just fine. With what?
It's doing just fine for sure.
I was saying I kind of feel that way about a lot of things from Seachem.
Yeah,
but...
that's I agree with that. I think that it overpromises on a lot.
Like their liquid fertilizer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's something in there.
Water.
What, I don't know, but
distilled water.
Once you get past the zeros in front of the percentage, there's there's something.
Yeah, that was like my biggest aha moment, was learning that okay, this stuff is not what they say it is. Back when I started, I got really heavily into planted tanks probably around like before I started YouTube, so I'd have been like 2012, 2013, and boy, was that was I mean, it took a couple years to find out like what worked, what didn't work, what's a scam, what's watered
run
down.
the gambit there and see what actually is real.
Now,
I mean,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say YouTube is like a double-edged sword. There's a lot of great info to learn, and there is a lot of absolutely terrible wrong info. So it's hard to parse through.
Like your substrate that you like the best, or are you kind of just, are there several that you're happy with? Like, or do you have a top of the list there?
I honestly like Stratum. Like, it's I mean, it's not super nutrient dense or anything, but anything with like a higher cation exchange coefficient, I think is what it's called, is kind of, it helps hold in the nutrients at least.
I did Stratum.
I like the texture of it.
Yeah, I do like
so I got Fluval Stratum when it like first hit the market, and I don't know if it's still the same, but that stuff leached ammonia for so
mine did. Yeah,
long.
That's what happened to me. It killed a bunch of shrimp, and I got pissed off, and then it finally settled, and it was okay after that.
That's really strange, because like I don't know, and I haven't been in the hobby as long as y'all, so I don't know if it has changed, but there's actually very little in Fluval Stratum. Like, it's mostly meant to hold nutrients that you dose, like positively, like cations. So I don't know. That's interesting. I've heard that about ADA soil. I've never tried it though.
Yeah, I mean,
I've done that too.
The first time I will say the first time I did it was a 75-gallon tank, and I had to do daily water changes for almost 3 months. Like, that's how, because I did, because I'll be honest, I got it for free, so I had like 5 inches of it in there.
Oh my god,
which is probably a little overkill.
That's so much.
But I did do it again in a 125-gallon tank, and I had about 2 inches, and that went a lot better. I will say that.
It took about 6 months, I think, for mine to finally, like, I had to really be careful and make sure there was stuff in there. Like the fish could handle it, but the shrimp could not. The shrimp would just drop like flies, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And to be honest, I wasn't testing it regularly because it was an established tank, but I just changed the substrate. And so then I finally decided to test, and I was like, well, I'm an idiot. There's a bunch of ammonia in this tank. That's cool.
How much ammonia was in it?
I'm trying to remember like exactly. It wasn't a crazy amount. I'm kind of making it out to be worse than it was, but it was enough that it was killing. I mean, that would kill my shrimp.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, obviously.
It was enough that I had batis in there too, and my batis were fine. So that's what kind of kept me from testing for a while, because I was like, well, the batis are fine. Everything else in there, there's snails in there moving around doing things. Like, what's the issue? Why are the shrimp? I thought I got like a bad batch of shrimp or something, and then I finally was like, well, maybe you should test your water, idiot. Like, how about that?
It's always a good go-to.
Right? Yeah, I got way too comfortable.
What's in there. I mean, I get that way too. Like the only reason I've been testing my water a lot lately is because I'm doing some research just for a video I'm working on that will be released between a week from now or a year from now. I don't.
That's
Stay
how I do
tuned,
my
guys.
videos.
Yeah,
That's how I do videos.
Hey, hold your breath, everybody.
definitely.
Wait for it. Yeah, I was not pleased when that happened though, because I had a whole lot of shrimp in that tank. But I loved the way it looked. I do really like Stratum. It's very nice. It's just it can be dirty for a minute there.
It's light and fluffy, and I found like I have it in the puffer tank, and I have like I don't know 30 something coolie loaches in there, and they really like it. It's easier for them to burrow in it than
Yep, I could
sand
see
even.
that. I could see that. Very soft and fluffy for sure. I had a ton of water lettuce in mine. That was the other reason why I didn't test it. I was like, this water lettuce has to be like making this. I mean, I just assumed everything was fine. So I would love. I mean, I do really like the way it looks. I also did it. I capped it with sand too, and I liked that as well. That was really good.
I say mine are sand capped, but I move plants around so much that it's all mixed together. Yeah, and of course after some time it starts to break down, becomes like kind of mucky, but it So
what do you do when that happens? Do you care like how when it starts to get all because that like you said it happens? Do you just leave it or do you change it out? Like how do you handle that?
Some people do change it out, especially if you're relying on it as buffer for like if you're keeping Caridina.
Right.
If it loses its buffer capacity, then and your KH goes up, then your Caridina might suffer. I don't know. I've never had I had Caridina very briefly, so I'll just say that much. But I am not into changing out substrates. Like that's just not something I want to do in this hobby.
No.
So I supplement with root tabs. It still has cation exchange capacity. It's just kind of nasty. You got to be careful.
And a little less effective. Yeah, that's.
Mm.
Explain that to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
What?
The
cation exchange?
Yeah.
So Fluval Stratum is full of negatively charged ions, and it pulls in positively charged ions. So that's going to be like your calcium, magnesium, iron, I think even ammonium. When ammonia is ionized in water, it becomes ammonium, adds a proton. So that kind of thing. So it's just those nutrients specifically can be held into that substrate and made bioavailable to plants. And it also takes in hydrogen ions, which is why, it releases hydrogen ions, which is why your pH lowers from it.
Makes sense.
Perfect. So I'm going to switch gears here. What are your favorite plants? Do you have favorites? Like,
do you play favorites?
Yeah, kind of.
Everything.
Yeah, it changes. It definitely changes. Right now, I like good old fashioned crypts. Honestly,
yeah, that's I love crypts.
One of my favorite tanks was my 75 gallon, and it was all just Crypt Lutea.
It's so pretty.
Yeah.
I like Crypt Nuriae Rose and Maiden specifically.
I have one of those.
This right, that one right there.
Right about there.
Yep.
It's very pretty. They just do such a nice job of filling out the bottom. I always wanted that. That was my thing. Is I was desperate for some ground cover, and I just never got it because of the fish that I kept. So it's my own fault. But
crypts are one of those things that doesn't discriminate on what kind of water you have. You can kind of make them work in almost any scenario.
Yep.
And you're not trimming them every single day.
My God, my Kambamba. I had a forest in every single tank, and I would take Kambamba by the 5-gallon bucketfuls and dump it in my backyard because it was that ridiculous.
Isn't it illegal there?
Yes. Probably. Everything's illegal here.
I've got tons. I have tons of illegal plants in my in my tank.
Of course it is.
Like Hygrophila polysperma is another one.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have someone in the Seattle Aquarium Society that loves to call people out if they see you with an illegal plant. They will let you know about it. It's very fun.
I'm not throwing it in my ditch, I'm not putting it in your local waterway.
This weekend I went down to the pond and I put some illegal plants in there. It was real fun.
I go to the lake here and pull out illegal plants out of the lake to put in my outdoor ponds.
Why don't you blame the animals that get brought in and then released, and then they bring little bits of these plants, and that's why they're here. So go talk to them about it. How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
All right. So I'm just now getting to chat. So if you guys have asked a question, you're going to need to re-ask it because there's
And go.
too much to stroll up. But Matt says favorite plants to grow in sand.
That's a good question.
And that's for you.
Yeah.
I don't have a favorite to grow in sand. I just whatever I want to grow in sand. I know if it's root feeder heavy, then I have to use root tabs.
Yeah.
And if I slack on root tabs, there is a noticeable decline in the quality of the plants in those tanks. So like sand only is not my favorite setup, but because I have to keep adding root tabs and fertilizing. But like Vallisneria works great. Like I have a tank that's just Adolphoi cories for breeding, and it's nothing but various Vallisneria and dwarf sag, which
cool.
is it's like Vallisneria and dwarf sag do a good job of utilizing bicarbonate more efficient than other plants that we keep. So you can kind of keep that in pretty much any environment.
That's nice. It's good to know.
I'm just waiting for some questions
I
to
was
come
gonna say,
rolling
people,
in here.
Let's
They
ask
asked all their
them.
questions.
No, they're done. They're done with us. They don't care.
Scroll
anymore.
up.
Well, I guess we're done here
I
today.
can't even read
Yeah,
this,
well.
guys. So you're gonna have to help me out here. Like I can't even see.
Let's see. Okay, I'm going to scroll up. What kind of flow does he find it is necessary for good? Oh, this is a good one. Let me reread this. This is from Zen Ginger. What kind of flow do you find necessary for good CO2 dissolution?
That's a good question.
Just good flow.
Yeah,
First flow across.
It's an interesting question.
Not bad flow, you mean? Amazing.
Yeah, like what's the opposite of poor flow?
Excellent flow.
So like this tank behind me, it's a 90-gallon tank, and I have a Fluval FX6 on it, and there's a spray bar that goes across the top of the tank. I would consider that good flow, except there are some dead spots in the tank because of the way I have plants arranged. So there's actually a little bitty power head in the back corner on this side that was responsible for just blowing water across the boost. Like that's how much I baby my freaking boost. Is I have a little power head just for the boost.
Oh, that's
tucked in the corner. Yeah.
I love it. See, I'm glad I brought up the boost. The boost is getting special treatment. Of course.
I'm gonna take a step back to sand here. Do you find it? I know that sand only is not your preference. Are you in the camp that you can't grow plants in sand? Because there's a lot of those people out there that say you cannot
I've
grow
heard,
plants
and
in
all I
sand.
ever had was just sand, except for the few tanks I had stratum in, and so I'm curious to know that too, because I that's what I did. So
well, I mean, all of my plants are mandatory planted tanks, and I have a lot of sand in tanks. So yeah, there hasn't been a plant that I've tried, at least in sand, that hasn't done well. I mean, you have to make sure there's nutrients available to it, but I don't think it's any different from gravel. In fact, I like sand. I like coarse sand because if I'm planting a stem, it goes in the sand and then it doesn't come out.
yes,
Which
yes.
when I first got started in this hobby, I think probably 25% of my substrate was plant weights because of this. The stems and gravel just don't do well.
No.
That is so funny. Like I was the same way. I'm like,
that's enraging.
I would go to my
It's
LFS and buy like a bunch, and they're like, "Do you want the weight?" I'm like, "Always." I
Girl,
want
you
the
don't
weight.
understand what I have to go
Do you have any extra weights? Like, can I just have a bag of weights?
No, it's definitely helpful. I feel like once roots take over, once you're rooted, it's like legit. You're good to go. Like it's not going anywhere. That's why they couldn't pull my Kumbamba out. That's why the one thing that didn't get pulled out was Kumbamba, because it had such a deep root structure in the sand that they just couldn't get it all the way out. And believe me, my electric blue Acara tried. I have many videos of them yanking on everything. And I'm like, try that one.
My only real complaint about sand is if I'm like moving too fast and uprooting stuff so much, and then oops, the aqua clear pulled a little bit, and now I got to deal with that noise. Yeah,
dude.
It just takes one little grain for the aqua clear too.
It's literally it
definitely announces that there's sand in the impeller.
I had replaced all of my aqua clears with titles because I would go up and just hit them. Like I get so angry. I'm like, I don't care if I break it. I don't even care. I like the filter. And the fact that the basket was always raising above the top and I had to constantly push it back. I was just walking in there like all the time. It was a joke.
That means your media is clogged.
Yep, always. That's because my fish were a mess. Always.
I feel like I had a worse problem. Well, not with clogging, more with, I mean, like the basket wouldn't go up in a title, but there would just be immediate bypass whenever I used a
Yeah,
title.
that's true. There was definitely downsides to titles. I just couldn't find anything else that I really liked. Plus, I liked that they were so quiet. Mine were really, really quiet. And that was something that I
Yeah,
had so many tanks that I was like, Jesus, if I hear any more, it sounds like someone's taking a piss all the time, like constantly.
yeah.
Ridiculous.
And like the flow adjustment on the title is good because you
Yeah,
can, like with
that's true.
AquaClear, it's like you can adjust it from full power to about
Nothing.
95% power.
Yeah.
Like there's
Oh,
barely
yeah.
any adjustment.
Nothing. I meant like nothing in difference to what it was. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, my only complaint about the major complaint about the title was the skimmer. That's my
Oh,
own fault because I had
I've heard
it.
that a lot.
Yeah, I had it in a tank where I was breeding a bristlenose plecos, and it was a 29 gallon. There were about 150 bristlenose plecos in there. It was kind of a problem, and that filter was getting clogged really fast.
I bet. Yeah.
So let me ask you another question here. If someone says, like, what do you think, like, what should you spend the most amount of money on? Say, like, is it the light? Is it the substrate? Like, if you had one thing to, like, I'm gonna blow all my money on this one thing, what would that
For
one piece
plants.
of equipment be?
Well, if you are injecting CO2, and I will say, like, I like injecting CO2, and a lot of my tanks are, you do not have to. So, like, that's not a requirement. But if you decide to, I think you would appreciate it a lot more if you go into it with the amount of funding that you need to buy a decent regulator, a full size cylinder, like 5 pounds and up, and like all that equipment. Don't dabble in it with the DIY kits
I hate that
or
stuff.
passive CO2 or anything like that. Just go full bore into it and you will have a much better time because the other stuff causes inconsistent CO2, and I think that inconsistent CO2 is worse than no CO2. That's when algae starts to take over because
Mhm.
it's
I feel like
constantly out of balance.
inconsistency in the fish keeping hobby is really what messes everything up. I mean, you got to be
For sure.
consistent. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, like, I did the DIY thing. I did the little Fluval kit. Then I progressed
Hmm.
to the paintball CO2 canister, the little thing.
One small one.
And if I would have bought my regulator and 5-pound tank at the start, I would have been way better off,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have
Hmm.
wasted all this time and money on this other
I
crap.
think a lot of people take that route, though. I feel like that's the route traveled way more often than just going straight for the big bucks and getting what you need. I mean,
Yeah. And if you're active, like if you have a local club that does auctions and stuff, you can make your money back on that CO2 setup. Just
I
Mhm.
believe it.
make it a plant farm for a while and grow the stuff that breeders like, guppy grass, anything with like that grows really fast and has a lot of like tiny leaves, like the jazz hands type of plants.
I love jazz
That
hands.
stuff seems to sell well. Like it's
You know what? I've
could
always had really good luck with growing fast and sells for a lot is Hygrophila angustifolia. I
oh
don't know if
yeah.
you've tried that one, but oh
Yeah.
man, people go nuts for that plant, at least around here. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
that's
good
one of my
one.
favorite.
It's a good one and it does well in high KH water too.
Yeah, I don't have any right now, so if anyone wants to send me some, I'd appreciate it.
I'll
But
send you some. I got plenty.
Oh,
oh,
shoot.
oh, there we go.
That was easy.
I grow like I try the advanced plants, but I always have a reserve of weeds because weeds are my favorite. They grow really fast, and if I need to plant a tank, I always have tons of that stuff. And I don't. Those are the tanks I don't have to worry about. I don't want to have to baby every single planted tank I have
Oh,
because I,
yeah.
different goals in the hobby. Like some are aquatic gardens, and others are just breeding projects, and others are just like displays to set up and watch, like the live bearer mosh pit. I don't do plant maintenance in that tank like ever.
I love that.
We're laughing because we
Look at the
literally just watched
video.
the
Yeah, I
video.
love it. I
Okay,
love
so I'm not an app person, so I don't even know if any of these exist. But Scotty says, "What is Steven's favorite plant app, and why? Favorite book if you have one.
Oh, okay.
He
Books.
says, I just got
Books.
Kesselman's new aquarium plant book.
That's funny.
I like books over apps
Freaking
myself,
books.
but
God.
I don't know. Are there any plant apps?
Yeah, is there any? There are, but I don't know if there's any worth like fish
There,
keep helpful.
yeah. Now there are plant identification apps. I don't even remember the name of the one that I've used, but
Leaf.
a
I
lot
think
of
there's
them.
like Leafly or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's one. I think the one I have is Picture It or Picture This or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah. I think
They really just help like
ChatGPT kind of
identify.
tries to.
I still feel like when I've used those apps to identify plants, it gives me like 4 different options. I'm like, well, that's not helpful, is it? Thanks.
Yeah, and if you have no clue, like no baseline for what that plant could possibly
Right.
be, then like that information is useless.
It's completely useless. That's kind
I
of.
tell you what, if you send me some plants, I'll send you some easy green and root tabs and whatever else, because I've got lots to spare.
That's a true statement.
We can do a little
you need
swap-a-roo. I don't know
yeah.
what your stocking is on that, or
Right.
if you need some, but
I
I'd be
mean, I
happy
always
to-
have reserve bottles of fertilizer, but you know, that stuff has a pretty good shelf life. So
That's true.
So, do you go by the 1 pump per 10 gallons? Because
Oh, yeah.
to me, like I have some of my tanks, I have to do like 5, and I
Yeah.
imagine that tank behind you, like 1 pump per 10 gallon, is probably not cutting it with that many plants.
no, whenever I'm on a fertilizing kick where I'm like, oh, I guess it's been a few weeks since I put anything in this tank other than fish poop. So I will do, like, this is a 90-gallon tank. I'll do 1 pump per 10 gallons, but I will do it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, consistency. There you go.
Well, it's better to spread it out than
That's true.
dumping a half a bottle in at
Right.
once.
F it.
Yeah.
My homies. How many tanks do you have total?
Currently filled in operation 20,
Okay.
and 2 of them that are empty that I need to figure out to do
Good for
something
you.
with. They're just
Great.
those 2 are just nano tanks though.
How big are most of your tanks? Bigger, or do you keep like varying sizes?
The 90 is my biggest tank, but I
Okay.
have like 2 29s, 2 3 40s, and like a 50-gallon, and then there's some 20s and 29s, and then I guess maybe a little less than half of them are actual nano tanks. Like my smallest tank is like a 2.5-gallon bowl that's just full of Boost and RO water,
Of course.
and it's still growing algae.
I'm a big
Imagine
fan of a 29-gallon tank. I feel like I had a lot of them, and I loved that size tank. I feel like that's a good.
I prefer the 30.
Of course you do.
Well, it's just longer.
Well, we didn't have 30s anywhere, so 29 was all I could get. We didn't have 50 breeders either, or 60 breeders either. I don't know
Is
why.
a 30-gallon, is that as tall as a 29?
It's shorter but 3 feet wide.
Interesting.
It's a very fun size.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I don't like the tall tanks. Like one of our tanks is at 55, and it's almost as tall as this 90 actually.
The 55s I find tough. They're just so narrow. Like there's no depth.
I was gonna ask you if you had a favorite size for like your plant grow out.
That's kind of where I
tanks.
was headed with this. Is what do you find? Do you have a size of tank you feel like plants grow the best in, or
I mean, not
better
even
in?
like just for me, I love 55s because I can grow a lot of different plants in there, and I would use 55s for grow outs to sell for trimmings because I only needed like 1 light because it's only 12 inches front to back. Whereas like a 40 breeder, sometimes you need 2 lights, or if they're crappy, sometimes 3.
I had 2.
So I actually really enjoyed 55s for only that reason, though. That's why I ask if you have a favorite size for just growing like clippings and things like that.
So one of the things that I do for members of my channel is that's why I have like a reserve of weeds that I grow, because I like to send easy plants as they become available. So
nice.
I like the footprint of a 40 breeder because surface area, and yeah, it does require 2 lights. And I had 2 Fluval 3.0s on this tank behind me for a while. I replaced it with 1 weak aqua. It's quite a bit wider, so just one of those.
Nice.
It's just like the same price though, with like a $400 and something light versus $400 something worth of Fluval 3.0s. It kind of evens out. But yeah, like I've never had a 60 breeder. I imagine I'd like that too if I had the room for it.
They're nice.
Just because
Very
it's
nice.
low to the ground like the 40, like or low, like not as tall like the 40, and so better light penetration, I guess.
I'm saving up to buy a group of 30 breeders, which I think are going to be really fun for growing plants.
I was shocked when I came here and we walked into Petco and I was like, you guys have 60 breeders? Like there's sizes of tanks here that I'm like, I never saw that in Sacramento. Like we did not have access to that. I couldn't get it anywhere.
That's the same here. Like I was waiting. I wanted to put a 75. This tank is in my bedroom. I wanted to put a 75 in here. And I waited and waited for a Petco to get them. It's not a thing around here.
It's weird how different
55
markets.
is the biggest ones.
Yeah, it's annoying. 75s were like, they'd get like 3 in the entire store. So if you didn't get on them like during the sales, they were gone immediately.
There'd be like 3 in the entire city, like across locations, having to track those down. So yeah, I ended up spending way too much money and just built this tank behind me. Like I bought the glass from a glass company, siliconed it together and all that.
Was it significantly more expensive than if you would have just bought one?
Yeah, it was like $600 worth of glass.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Bad decision, really bad decision. But
if you
DIY
can't find
is fun.
it, yeah, it is fun.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it's fun to do it,
though.
and if you can't find it, see, I'm the kind of person that if I can't find it, I don't even care how much it costs. I'm gonna make it happen. Like it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I was dead set on it.
Yeah, I get that. But yeah, the 60, I feel like the 60 breeder would be really good for plants. Definitely, like that's a good one.
Oh, for sure.
Bobby wants to know, what kind of sand do you use?
I love the sand.
Most of mine is the Carib Sea Supernaturals, and there's different colors, and I don't care about the color. I don't even know. I also have pool filter sand, not my favorite, but I have it.
Yeah,
I'm not keen
too
on
white.
the substrate, so
it's too white. It's like if you have plecos, never get that because it's gonna look terrible. Like poop on it one time, and you're like, ugh.
Then you stir that around. My pool filter sand is like snail poop yellow now.
That's funny.
For some reason, the issue I had with pool filter sand is hair algae. Like it would like mat across it every single time I tried it. It was very annoying.
Huh.
I don't know if I've had that specific problem. The worst substrate, like I just cannot stand it, is Eco Complete, and I have the worst algae problems in that.
I hate Eco Complete.
That was my favorite for a long time.
Do not like it. I bought it
back
one
when
time.
I thought that was plant substrate too, that it was active.
I did. That's why I bought it, and I hated it. I was like, get this out. I think it lasted like a month, and I scooped all of it out, and I put it. I want to say I put it in a 75 like a real idiot too. Like I put it in a big tank thinking I'm committing to this. Nope.
No, somebody needs to do some jail time for making that substrate. Like it's
good.
I don't like
it. It is not Eco
Complete.
I used to preach Eco Complete until I learned that it was my fertilizers and my light and everything else I was doing. But you could go back on even my channel and people are like, what's your favorite plant substrate? I'm like, Eco Complete. Like it's amazing.
No,
Look at my tanks.
Right.
It absorbs nutrients.
Yeah, no.
It comes with rancid bacteria already.
Yeah.
What's the substrate people are buying at like Tractor Supply? Oh.
My wife Jenna just chimed in the chat to remind me that I also have black diamond blasting sand from Tractor Supply.
Do you like the black diamond sand?
I like it just fine. It's cheap and it does not harm my corridors. Like I've never had that problem.
That's good.
Not at all. Like I mean, I have corridors in this fluorite, and this fluorite is like razor blades just compacted together. So
they're like little shards individually for sure.
That was my problem with pool filter sand, was all the little shards of silica.
I was gonna say maybe the silica had something to do with it. I have no idea, but who knows? It could be.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful, the black diamond sand. I only did it one time and I did it in a smaller tank, but it looked so nice. Very nice.
I have it on top of stratum, and I think
I
don't know if I have maybe one tank I have just black diamond blasting sand, but mostly it's on top of stratum or mixed in with stratum, which is good because once it mixes, it's all sort of the same color, so it doesn't look too bad.
That's why I was gonna say that must look nice because there's not a huge difference there. I was really hesitant to get it because, of course, online there's like a 50-50 split. Some people are like, this is the worst stuff ever. This is terrible. And then other people preach it left and right. So I was like, ooh, I'm a little nervous. But
it's a problem with the internet is people have
people like me saying,
people just say things and then people take it as, Bible. Like that's it.
I learned. Let's see. Eco Complete was on sale on Amazon for like $16 a bag.
Of course it was.
And I bought 5 bags of it. And at that specific time is when I was like, wait a minute, maybe this is not the bee's knees. And so I literally still have 4 boxes of it brand new from like 5 years ago in storage. I haven't even opened the Amazon box. It's still in the Amazon box.
That goes to show you how great it is. I know, right? Yeah, there you have it. Give it away.
It's like taking it. No, don't do that. Don't put that on other people.
Yeah.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Oh, that's true. Yeah, that stuff's garbage. Absolutely garbage.
Also, if you've had it for years, it's supposed to have active bacteria in it. I cannot imagine the smell if you opened it now.
Dude.
I'm kind of curious. I know exactly where the box is.
I don't know.
Oh, next time I'm there, I might.
I'm not participating in that.
Let your dogs do the sniff test. If they walk away from it, then you know it's not good.
That's how we discovered that we can't eat most fruits from the grocery store because our roaches wouldn't eat them. We were like, well, perhaps there's a problem with this stuff. The roaches won't eat it. I find that odd.
So we got some strawberries,
right?
And you had somebody were like, give me to the roach. They didn't touch them. So then I set them outside. The crows wouldn't take them. The crows take everything. Like they just sat there and they didn't even like wither. They just sat there, and I'm like,
they didn't even get old. I was
so
like,
then of course I'm like, I go onto the internet and they're like, this stuff is coated and stuff. You should never eat strawberries from the store. And I was like, all right. And then here's another interesting little tidbit: is we had a little campfire the other day going, and we had some cauliflower, like the whole thing.
It went bad, so I had to throw it.
And I was like, I just throw it in the fire. We were gonna cook it, but we're like, I just throw it. It didn't burn.
No,
it's black now, but it's still a ball of. It didn't burn. It didn't do anything. Like it should do something. And it's just like, what is going on with our food?
Sorry for the side tangent. Just
that is
careful, guys. Like careful with the strawberries and your cauliflower.
I mean, is this all grocery store produce, or is this something specific? I've never.
Needless to say, we've started to grow our own produce.
It's a little terrifying. I'm already crazy about like I make everything from scratch because I'm like, if it has more than 5 ingredients or something I can't pronounce, I don't do it. I kind of feel that way about a lot of stuff in the fish keeping world. Like there's so much crap out there that you're like, what is this? Like what? It preaches these things, but it doesn't do it. I don't know. I feel like that way about everything now. You just got to be careful.
Yeah, I mean, it's helpful to know what the thing is doing to your water and the implications of it. I mean, a lot of them are just natural compounds that are being bottled and marketed and upsold and marked up for profit. But like, it's good to know.
Alex got my back here. He says Safety Sorb from Tractor Supply. Have you ever tried that?
No, but I have heard great things about it, and I actually am thinking about using that or kitty litter next time I repot my lily in my pond outside.
Interesting.
I've never tried it either, and it's one of those things that's like it's always so hyped that I'm automatically skeptical.
I know I'm the same way with that kind of stuff. Like I feel like someone's getting paid. There's something weird going on behind the scenes when people are that like gung ho for anything.
Well, I think it's cheap, and it kind of has that quality of stratum of the high cation ion exchange. So that is just a cheap way of locking in nutrients in substrate. Same thing with kitty litter. I don't know which one is better in terms of like which one isn't going to just make your tank disgusting. I would probably cap it with something if I put it in a tank.
Yeah, I've heard all kinds of weird stuff about like people bake it in their oven first, or
everybody puts stuff in their oven, and am I the only one that is really like reticent to just shove everything in my oven? Like I don't know about everybody else, but
that's where the food goes.
I know, right? Like it's a little bit counterintuitive. So this is a good question. Can you kill a plant putting it in 10 degrees difference of water? So if you're taking it out of a heated tank and putting it in a non-heated tank, is it going to cause problems for the plants?
I think it probably depends. Like there are plants in the wild that undergo like extreme fluctuations in temperature, and there's other ones that are super sensitive if you look at it wrong. Like I imagine like one of the like a cultivar like Crypt pink flamingo or something like that it's like not meant to exist. I'm sure if you made any changes to it, it probably wouldn't like it very much.
That is one plant I will never buy again in my life is pink flamingo ever.
Yeah.
We have one in the fish room.
It's dead to me. It can die.
Like
I don't care.
Big.
Yeah, I was going to say that's why I don't, because I hate them so much. So much.
I'm going to try it again. Because Zen Ginger is doing too well with her pink flamingo, and I failed at it too many times, and I'm going to have to do it again because
I've spent too much money on those things, man. Like they are not
God,
cheap.
they were
And
$30 when I first like
yeah,
bought my first and second one.
Yep. I think the first one I got was like at least $20-$30, something like that, and it was nothing. It was like this big, and I thought, great, it's gonna. I already knew it was gonna die. I bought it knowing this is gonna die, and of course it did. And then I bought it like 4 more times, and I said, "You're an idiot. Stop it right now."
Yeah, I took a break, but I'm gonna be an idiot again and try it.
I think it'll work out better for you than me. Like I said, I put it in a tank with some cichlids and thought, go for it, do it, man, make it happen. What was I thinking? Because all my tanks had cichlids.
My nemesis plant is Pintafinida.
Really?
I've just
Hygro Penatifidia,
yeah, however, whatever. Yeah, I've
just
always struggled. Even I had a tank, a 40 breeder. Like anything I put in there, it was CO2, dry ferts, using the EI method. Like anything I put in there would grow. But that plant, I've just even in that tank wouldn't grow, and it was just it's always haunted me. And I think even Zen Ginger asked me about it like a year or two ago, and I was like, I'm the wrong person to ask about that plant.
I got rid of all of mine because once it got started, it like grew way too much. But I'm trying it. I missed it, so I'm doing it again. It just needs light, and it needs CO2 or at least like good access to nutrients.
Okay.
So I think like low pH water probably would be helpful in highlight. Would be my recommendation.
You have no issue with highlight. That's something we do have.
If it gets started, you might regret it. It's like one of those that once it's happy, it just goes wherever it wants.
I love the leaf structure on it. I just love the way it looks.
Me too.
I also love like the oranges and the random different colors.
Cheryl nailed it. My pink flamingos looked great until they disappeared. Yep. Until that one day when it melted and we're gone.
I told Zen that hers were going to go away, and she's proving me wrong.
Yeah, out of spite. See,
she's like, look, it made babies. I'm like, it's not supposed to do that.
You're lying. That's not.
It's supposed to be unstable and terrible.
Yeah, really.
A lot of people chiming in to say never eat store-bought strawberries.
Oh, good. The strawberry stuff. Yeah, we're growing strawberries now. So
yeah, I'm actually going to be setting up a 20 long to grow strawberries.
Yeah,
so
that's going to be fun.
Strawberries grow really well in Louisiana, so there's no shortage of roadside strawberries around here.
That's California. So in Sacramento,
it should be a weed. Like
my dad would always, every single time I saw this man, he's like, I got some strawberries for you, because there's this huge strawberry farm right by his house, and they're selling it on the side of the road, and they're just delicious, and it makes anything from a grocery store taste like dirt. So
yeah,
it's nice to have that, but not here.
So one thing I didn't ask you, we usually go between like an hour and an hour and a half. I don't know if you have any time restraints or any time you want to get out of here.
Some people have lives, unlike us, so we just want to make sure.
I think it's one thing a lot of fish people have a problem is in common is the lack of a life.
We have lives. We just spend a lot of our time with fish and plants.
I mean, I have a wife who is also into the hobby very much, and I have 2 kids that are not at all into the hobby, but they like the fish tanks. They have 2. They each have a 20 tall in their room.
What do they have in their tanks? What do they keep?
So my daughter, 12-year-old, she has glow light Danios, the chopper Danios.
I like those.
She has 1 remaining Axelrod Rasbora because those are weak, and and she has Similis Corridor. No, what is it? Hoplosoma. What do they do with the cories? Hoplosoma.
I don't care. I just don't care anymore.
I really don't care either, because in 10 years it's just going to get changed back. But I am working on a write-up for my website that'll have all the different changes. So hopefully be out in the next
it's good to have a cheat sheet.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's nice. Okay, so what is you have a son as well? Yeah,
he's 10 years old, and he's got some cherry barbs that they've been alive for a while now. And what else is in there? A bristlenose pleco, apparently. I didn't realize that there was one still in there, but it just hangs out. I never put any kind of like algae specific food in there either, so I don't know what it's doing.
I feel like that's not uncommon to find a bristlenose randomly in a tank.
Well, I used to breed them, and so I would disperse them among the tanks, but then like I made a point to get them all out because I don't want just random bristlenoses hanging out in tanks. Yeah, just pooping everywhere. So,
Oh,
but yeah, that one held out and grew. What else? There's purple harlequin rasboras
those are nice.
and pandacories, and I
Okay.
think a platy is in there still.
Okay, so they've got do they take care of them themselves, the tanks and everything, or do you do
They
it?
feed them. They feed them, and
Okay.
that's it, pretty
That's
much.
good. They feed them. That's something.
Yeah,
That's nice.
but
Real quick, Vibes Aquatic with a $2 super chat. Thank you so
you.
much.
That's
Says
very
good
nice.
times, best
Vibes.
friends. Love y'all.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, my mom helped me like when I had my first fish tank when I was 8, and I of course needed help, but she still made me do most of it. Like she would assist to make sure I didn't get the house soaking wet trying to change everything, but that was pretty much it. So
yeah, they're just not into it, and we don't force them to be into it. Let them have their own lives.
Yep.
The worst thing that we've done in terms of forcing them into fish keeping is we took them to the Triple Crown, which
Oh
was like a 5-day fish event.
wow.
Yeah.
And if you saw their faces when they were there at the hotel, they looked like the saddest kids on earth.
We're going on vacation, guys. They're like,
But my wife Jenna took them around to do like activities and stuff around the city that were not fish keeping related. So they did have fun while I hung out with the rest of the nerds.
Are they into any animals?
yeah,
or
like reptiles. Maybe.
dogs?
Well, my daughter has a gargoyle gecko that she requested.
her.
Like, she wanted a gecko, and I made her do research and write a little thing about how to
I
take
love
care of
that.
them and what they require. And
Good
I
on you.
was like, because I told her, like, these geckos, they live about as long as a dog. So
Arlo, go.
like, you're gonna be taking this thing to college, and so you better be really into it. So yeah,
I
we
like
had
the
it's like
write a paper. That's good.
oh yeah.
That's great. I love
So that one's like, we took a 20 long and put the terrarium conversion thing on the front
I
of it.
love those. Sweet.
So yeah,
very
she's
cool.
into that, and she does all the care and maintenance for that.
Oh, that makes me happy. I love when kids are into reptiles. That's great.
Yeah,
That counts then. To
she's
me, that counts. Like if you
Yeah.
fish reptiles, whatever, if you're into one of them, that counts.
She reads books too, so like she has some genes that aren't mine, I guess. Because and then my son is video games and YouTube and video games.
That's
So
reasonable. That's okay.
he's
about right.
definitely mine.
I was into all of those things. I liked video games, reptiles, and
Yeah.
fish growing up. I had all of them.
Yeah, I noticed your very first upload is a video game.
Yeah. And we were looking at that and I was like, oh, sweet.
Lagging in Call of Duty. What else is new?
Yeah,
People make fun of me because I'm a fan of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and they're like, it's just mashing buttons. Well, how come I can mash buttons better than other people then? Tell me that. Like, I'd like to know. So
if you play with the people who are really good at Mortal Kombat, the button mashing, it doesn't work. They execute these combos with precision, and you question your choices. And
that was see, I know that was the thing, is everybody would tell me that I was just button mashing. I'm like, no, these are combinations. My fingers just move really fast and y'all can't figure out what I'm doing. My cousins were like 6-7 years older than me, and I'd kick their ass. Like it would just, at like 9 years old, we'd get on an arcade game and I'd just be like, done. And they're like, never mind, I'm not playing with you. I'm not losing to an 8-year-old girl.
I thought I was good at those until the era of online play. And then, there are people that are
the world
really
open.
Yeah.
No, that I'm a fan of the brutalities, like getting those types of things. And everyone's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, you just do it. You got to know, you got to know the way.
Oh, that's like shouting at my brother to stand still so I can get this combo right.
Yep. Stop it. Like I remember, that kind of thing where you're standing up and you're turning and you're trying to figure out how, if I turn my body this way, I can make it happen. Like,
yeah, that works.
Yeah, totally. Did a lot of that, but I figured it out eventually.
So anyways,
nobody ever wants to talk about Mortal Kombat. That's all right.
Fine. I guess
Fighter
this is a fish channel.
Who says? Street Fighter is good too.
I like Street Fighter as well.
Yeah, that was a really fun
We
one.
had both.
Yeah,
it's okay to like two things that are opposing.
That is. Yeah,
people miss that in fish keeping. Everyone's like got to be in this like faction of fish keeping. Like, no, there's a lot of things you can do in this hobby, and you can also like do them at the same time.
Right?
It's gonna be okay. You don't need to get mad because someone else is doing
Right.
it different.
Yeah,
People get real mad
I'm
too.
very put off when people are like, "This is the way I do it. It's the only way to do it. It's
There's
the best
not,
way to do it."
no. And you know, those are the people
Mhm.
to not listen to, because people that say
Yeah.
there's only one way, I'm like, you don't
Yep.
even know what you're talking about. I'm not listening to another word out of your mouth. Like, that's
Yep.
ridiculous.
And it gets backed up by bad science, and
Yep.
then it takes a while when you're new to learn what the bad science is and what the good science is.
And you can play statistics either way. Everybody always wants to do the statistic thing, and I'm like, statistics lie. So like,
Yeah.
whatever you want it to be, it's going to be. It doesn't even matter. It's ridiculous.
Mhm.
I don't buy it. So
Oh yeah, you can confirmation bias your way into
Yep.
anything. Yeah.
That's what you were saying. And it backs them up, and they get that false sense of bravado, and you're like, okay, I'm done. Moving on.
Yeah, and the
There's a
truth
million
is,
ways
there's
to
actually
do it.
very little research when it comes to like fish keeping, aquarium keeping. There's a lot of research, like legitimate scientific studies out there that are about fish in the wild, food fish like trout and stuff. There's not a lot about aquarium ornamental fish in an aquarium environment.
That makes sense. I think that's it's funny to me, because I've said this many times. When you look at the hobby overall and how long it's been, and we're like, man, we've come far since the days of like, underground filters and stuff. But really, have we come that far? Because I feel like there hasn't been that much innovation in fish keeping. Like, there really
Yeah, well, I mean,
hasn't.
the thing is, there's a lot of ways that work. Like there's a
Right.
lot of ways to keep even a discus alive, and so like no one ever takes the time to. No one funds that research, basically, like an actual peer-reviewed study on this is
Mhm.
how these discus from this place and why they thrive in this water and not that water. It just you find a way that works and you do it, and some people find a way that works and then claim that it's the only way without trying other ways. So.
Which makes no sense to me at all. But yes, that does
Yeah,
seem to be
it's
the
it's
general.
weird.
It is very weird.
Makes it hard for a beginner for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's so I've kept fish and reptiles for so long that I've trialed and errored myself into where I'm at now. Like, I have done so
Mhm.
many things over 30 years that, I've figured it out. But then I hear all these other things. And I'm like, man, that person is just doomed. Like, you're setting that. Even at like local fish stores, I'd overhear employees saying things, and I'm like, do you hear what's coming out of your mouth? Like, what are you telling these people? Like, they're going to be out of this hobby in 6 months. Like, they're going to try it. They're going to get so discouraged, and then they're gone. So it's just annoying.
Yeah, it's like so much energy to try to speak up. Like I used to try to legitimately help people on Facebook, which was a
Oh,
hilarious
that's a
time in my
losing
life.
Good
battle.
for you. Like, I would have been like middle finger to the world after 5 minutes. I can't even handle Facebook. I haven't had Facebook for years for that reason. That people just, you want to talk about coming for people. My God. Like,
Now, the only time I chime in is when something has 0 replies, because I am not going to jump in and correct everything that's been said in the 200 comments, because what's the point?
you set the bar if you can, but if there's,
Yeah.
I'm not arguing with anybody. That's the thing. I've gotten to the point in my
No.
life where I'm like, if this is what you think, good for you. Like, but if somebody asks for my opinion, I'm happy. I'm like, please listen to me. But not a lot of people
Yeah.
ask. They ask for you to confirm what they want to hear. I feel like they
Oh,
want you to confirm their way is correct. And I'm like, I can't even deal with it. So
Yeah, there's a term for that. They're called assholes.
yeah. Yep.
I think the best thing is just finding out which way works best for you.
Right. And what you have available to you, the amount of money you have, the space you have. I mean, to make it work with what you have is hugely important. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that every water is different, like there's like 50,000 water companies in the United States. And then there's like 15 million people that are on individual wells, and like your neighbor's well water could be different from your well water depending on how deep the well is. Like to be able to like say that this method works across every spectrum of water quality, and this is the best way to do it no matter what, it's kind of insane.
Well, I was telling him not long ago that for like when I go on YouTube for anything fish related, like the most helpful thing to me in years and years of being on YouTube and looking up stuff for fish is how to put my FX4 back together correctly, because I cleaned it so few. I was like, wait a minute, I haven't done this for 2 years. Like, I don't remember how to do this. And I'm not looking for advice that's specific to things like
Yeah.
parameters, because how the hell is somebody going to know what my parameters are and what's going to work best in my situation? They're not going to. So it's not going to
That's
help.
what I like about YouTube is you can find that information and it will you'll have a video that shows someone putting an FX4 back together.
Love
If you
it.
ask someone on Facebook how to reassemble an FX4, they will mock you for using a canister filter.
Yep.
They will
for
tell you
sure.
that's the bad filtration. What
Why'd
fish
you
are you
waste your
keeping in
money?
this?
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
Yeah, why didn't you
no,
waste-
Shut up.
I already have it. I
No,
have an
that's-
FX6.
Yeah, I had 3 FX4s, which I actually got good deals on because I spent a lot of time having Petco price match things when, like, with corporate,
Mhm.
because I'm one of those people. But
Nice.
I liked all my FX4s. I don't have anything bad to say about them. I never had a problem with them or anything. They ran for years without me cleaning them. Because I
Yeah.
never cleaned them.
I
But
do an annual cleaning on mine.
yeah, that's probably about what I did. Maybe once or
Mm.
twice a year when I was like, it seems to be getting a little ripe in there. Like, I could start smelling it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I gotta say, I'm not a StreamYard user, and this, like, Curtis super chat for $1. Thank you. On YouTube is blue. On StreamYard it's red.
Oh.
When you get a red super chat on YouTube, it means it's $100 or more.
Were you
So I
excited
just
for
see
a
the
minute?
red, and I'm like, oh,
Curtis
snap.
really upped the ante this week, huh? Feeling good, are
I was
we?
very confused.
Thank you, Curtis.
Hopes dashed.
I really, and that's where our hopes went to die today. Like,
Wow.
it's fine.
Are you interested in like paludariums at all, or?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good question.
Kind of. I don't have room for one, but I could, like, my obsession with aquatic plants also stems from the fact that I am absolutely terrible at terrestrial plants because, like, you have to water those.
Right?
And I'm not, I forget
I've
things.
said
Like,
this.
I'm diagnosed ADHDs. Like, I have treatment for ADHD. I'm gonna forget that kind of stuff instantly.
Yeah.
So
That's why I would just stick
Wait,
stuff
wait,
in
wait.
the filter.
Are you telling me that I don't have to water my aquarium plants?
He's been
I mean,
watering them
definitely
all
gotta
these years.
keep them wet.
All these
for
years.
Sure.
What a fool.
It's a good idea to keep them wet. So
Damp, maybe. I don't know.
All those time misty.
Yeah.
No, I'm
aquariums?
the same way with like, I love, because I have live plants and I've always had live plants in all my reptile tanks, even my arid enclosures. I'd keep different types of cactus and the snake plants and stuff. So those did well because the more you water those, they'll die. So I did great with the snake plants in my arid enclosures, but I'm so bad about, I'll mist enough to get my animals what they need and then be like, F these plants. I just don't care. I don't have time for this. But with aquatic plants, obviously, they take that out of the equation. It's a little bit easier. So
yeah, I'm glad my daughter is good about misting the terrarium. I do want to look into like a misting system for her terrarium because I know some of the plants we have in there aren't doing so well just because like geckos don't require that super high level of humidity like others do apparently.
mid-level,
So like
they're middle range.
Yeah, so some plants aren't doing that great, but I feel like I would like a paludarium because I could keep fish and I can have plants in there and the humidity level remains high, so the maintenance part of it is not as bad.
If you do get a misting, well, I would not get a misting system that they sell anywhere because they're all crap. I would make one. Yeah, I know it's
okay.
a lot easier. It's not that hard with the misting systems either to make those. Every single one that exists on the market. This is the reptile hobby has the crappiest stuff ever. So
it's no different than aquatics.
It's literally like it's a waste of money. All of them are a waste of money.
Okay.
So I would make one and it'll be far more efficient than anything you'll ever buy. And it'll be half
or at
the
least
price.
buy like a humidifier that's made for humans and not reptiles.
Not reptile based. And then never buy anything that like reptile filter. Like I bought a freaking filter that was supposed to be for my paludarium and it was the biggest waste of money ever. Like they have not innovated at all in the reptile world. So yeah,
interesting.
Right. It's
okay.
Really
so do you have any resources to learn how to make one?
I could send you a couple things. Yeah. I think there's a couple people that have done it right. And I feel like for that size tank, it'd be really easy. You don't need a whole lot. So yeah, that'd be pretty simple.
I like to make stuff.
Tubes, like some tubing and it really rudimentary type of stuff. So yeah, I can send you info.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that's good for gargoyle gecko too, because you don't need like that 70 to 80% humidity. You're good at like 60% right around there. So
yeah, I mean it's humid down here anyway. It's just I feel like the little humidity gauge in there always shows like 80, but the plants still seem to be drying out. So
it also it has a lot to do with the placement of the gauge. I know that when I would move, because I'd move my gauges around the tank constantly to see what the humidity was in different areas of the tank, because you'll get dead spots where there's way less humidity 6 inches down or 6 inches over, or whatever the case. I mean, you're working with the parameters you're working in is smaller. It's not a huge tank. I had one that was like a 36 by 24 by 36 that was really difficult to maintain consistent humidity in. So I would just move it around and see like, what do I have going on at different areas? And it's a little bit easier than to gauge where you need to hit the spots you need to hit, you know, with like a mister or something. So
Okay.
yeah, that's definitely something I've noticed though, because I was running into that too, where I'm like, why is it like always 50 right here? Or why is it always? And that's when I was like, why don't you move it around and see what it is over here? And I noticed that, like I said, dead spots and all that kind of stuff can affect. If you have plants, they can shade it. They can keep the water from hitting down lower, things like that. Obviously varying factors depending on what's in your tank. So
I actually replaced it because I thought the other one we had was bad.
Broken?
Like, it never changed.
That's kind of what I was thinking at one point. I was like, why is it never, like, what is the deal? And a lot of them, when you stick them, it's permanent. So I stopped putting the sticky thing on there and I just left it by itself and moved it all around the tank. So I'd lean it up.
The one I got is magnetic. Like
okay, nice.
So
yeah, that's easy then. You can just move that around. I also would put it like, if I had like plants in the middle or hardscape, I'd sit it on that in the middle, just like balance it on there to see what it was, because it's really, like I said, you'll notice a lot of varying degrees of humidity. So, I mean, as long as the animal's fine, that's all that matters. Like if your animal's happy and eating and healthy, then it's like, it's okay. So
yeah, I would just like her to have like the huge lush terrariums like I see on social media.
It's possible too, honestly. Like it's not that
why difficult. I did the plants. Like I want my plants to look like that.
Yeah.
Like social media tanks. And then I realized, oh, those are a lot of work actually.
Yeah, those are a lot. That's those little like 2-minute videos of people setting up all those things, and then they don't realize that there's hours and hours and hours every week that goes into maintaining.
Not to mention those generally look terrible after a couple months.
They don't. That's the other thing is your plants are going to ebb and flow in those kind of situations. And like my reptiles, so I have emerald tree skinks, and they hurl themselves all around the tank. They care of nothing. They're nihilists. They literally are like, whatever, I'm just jumping. And they would just smash plants, or they want to lay their eggs. Like I'd leave pots, like potted plants. They'd bury into them and like pull all the plants out, put their eggs down there. So depending on what kind of reptiles you have, luckily gargoyle geckos are pretty chill. They're not moving around a whole lot, but I like animals that fling themselves. So, you know.
I haven't seen that gecko move since we got her.
No, gargoyles move like not at all. Like, but they're beautiful. I think they're very pretty.
Oh yeah, for sure. But
do you have any dirted tanks?
I don't. I'm not ruling it out because I can see that like dirted tanks do work in some scenarios. I think like their effectiveness in terms of my understanding of the chemistry are a little over hyped, but I can see the benefit of it being like a low cost solution to have something that holds nutrients for a while and also has organic breakdown and can release some CO2. I think if I did that in hard water, the CO2 benefits, like if I did that in my water with my KH, the CO2 benefits would be nil. Like it would be pointless. So, but I'm thinking about setting something up like that just to try it.
Yeah, I haven't done one for a while, and not with my new water here. I'm very curious. I've always loved dirted tanks.
I think they're cool. Yeah. I've never done one. Never took the plunge. I was a little nervous after like my stratum. Like I just figured, it's like stratum after it breaks down. Like that's what it is. But it's
not. Pretty much. Like I think that's worse in terms because I'm one to move plants around all the time, and it does kick up a lot of like debris and stuff. But I feel like with dirt, it would be like way worse because I think it'd probably be releasing stuff into the water column versus just like inert dust.
For us that can't leave things alone, which I am included in that faction, those kind of things don't bode well for sure.
I can't.
That's why sand. Yeah, it's just I can't either. I've redone the 125 like 3 times just because, and that's how I am with everything. I'm like, well, it could be better, so it's going to be better. And in that process, you have to make it worse before it gets better. So,
indeed.
All right, I'm going to check to see if we have any more questions here, and then if not, might call it a night.
Dirt works, but too many variables. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Lots of
always
variables with
had
dirt.
the thing I enjoyed about dirt is I never really got algae, and I don't know if it was because of the carbon, but I never really had algae problems in my dirt tanks. Going from a greenhouse to indoor climates is traumatic for plants. You need to reacclimate them,
baby them.
Yeah.
I could see that. See, that's why I'm like, I don't mess with a lot of plants unless they're in a tank. That's how I do it.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions, so I think we're gonna call it a night.
6:30 on the dot. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, thanks so much for coming on here.
Thanks,
Maybe
buddy.
hopefully we can do it
thanks for
again
having me.
someday.
This was good.
I appreciate it. StephenP2003.
Go watch everything. It's hilarious.
I'm sure Zenny will link the channel again one more time. Go subscribe.
I love that he just assumes here.
I do take Zenny for granted.
Yes.
So
yeah, we all do.
And
she's the best.
We know that I'm probably right, and she has linked
and
it.
There we have it, my friends. There it is.
And I've never even paid her at all.
What did I think I sent her $1 on PayPal once.
We did the thing. What are you talking about?
The super chats, right?
Oh yeah.
I was like, am I missing something here?
Like about that.
Not that it's
that
enough
wasn't
to cover what she does.
That wasn't from me though.
I know that was from everybody.
That was from the viewers.
That was from all of us who appreciate her very much. Like that was a group effort.
All right, I'm going to end it here. Thanks everyone for coming. I appreciate it. Thanks for
y'all.
the super chats, and we will see you next week.
Good night.
Awesome.
Any final words for you?
Yeah. Anything else?
Check out my videos, and if you like them, stick around. I guess.
Do it. You will not be disappointed, y'all.
There you go.
Good night.
End stream.